Hello, welcome to Seeking the Kingdom of God channel. And today we are going to continue the teaching we have been doing for the last 5 days. That is radical giving, and today will be part 6. And today we will look at another patriarch or another personality in the Bible. And before we go there, I have to share with you a piece of good news. Remember, we keep talking about the fact that God is a radical giver. And if we follow his leading, if we listen to him, if we have a relationship with him, he will fulfill all our needs. Yeah. And in fact, he will. There's a verse in the Bible that says he will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. Well, I guess that is true. And today I have to share with you something amazing that's happened for this channel. And because it's for this channel, it's for me as well. So somebody who is a fan of this channel and is also a person who is an encourager for this channel. The family encouraged me to start this channel and make sure that I seriously got to doing what the Lord was telling me to do through this channel. So I got this from them. So today, the recording you're hearing is coming via this mic. And I tested it out already, and I know it is doing a great job. So praise the Lord for that, and God bless the family a lot. They know who they are. If they're listening, they know who they are. And I pray that the Lord will shower them with so many blessings that the promise in Malachi 3 will come true for them, that they won't have room enough for the blessings that the Lord is showering on them. So if they don't have room enough, that means they'll have to move to a bigger place. That's my blessing for them, because they have blessed me with this. So thank you so much, and I'm glad that you are participating in this whole process, so that you see that we are not talking about something in the air. It is something that is real, and that is live, because he is alive. Jesus is not dead, he is alive. So because he is alive, when we give into the hands of people who do his work, then we give into the hands of Jesus. And when we give into the hands of Jesus, he gives back many fold. All right. So this is one part of the fold, one part of one fold possibly. And I'm believing for many more things for this channel. So that's going to happen sooner than later, more sooner than later, which is the promise that we have, because we believe in Jesus. So having cleared that up, I would like you to like the channel and like the video. I mean, like the video, share the video if you like it, comment on it in the comment section on YouTube, and also please feel free to subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, and propagate this channel as much as possible, so that all of us who can participate through this teaching will be blessed. So I'm sure you will do your bit, because I'm doing my bit. And let's get into the Bible and take a look at the next personality. This next personality is the son of Jacob. Now, Jacob had many sons. He had, in fact, 12 sons totally. And this is the 11th son that we are going to talk about. Why the 11th son? Because the radical giver, because our focus is not the son of Jacob or any of the patriarchs. Our focus is on the radical giver. So the radical giver made his presence known in the life of this son, and his name is Joseph. We'll find his story in the 37th chapter of the book of Genesis. So we'll begin there, and we will not go through his whole life today, because it is a long haul. It's a big life history of Joseph that's recorded in the Bible. I think many of you thought the same yesterday. Jacob also was a very long teaching, and I'm sorry I didn't foresee that. Otherwise, I would have divided it up in several episodes. So we are going to do that with Joseph's life. We are not going to go through all of it today. We are going to go through one part. And so let's begin in the chapter 37, beginning with verse 1. And now Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. So when he says stranger, he actually means a dweller, a temporary resident. So Joseph being 17 years old, now we move directly from Jacob to Joseph, because there's background in the previous chapters, and we know Joseph is one of the sons of Jacob. So Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. Now we'll go to verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. Israel is a name that God gave Jacob when he blessed him a second time. If you watch yesterday's video, you'll see that Jacob was blessed again by God. So at that time, God gives him the name of Israel. Israel means prince. His name, Jacob, the earlier name which he had before God gave him a new name, meant grabber, which is what Jacob was. He was a grabber. From the time of his birth, he was grabbing things which didn't belong to him, which was his if he had waited, but he wanted it way before the time that it was meant to come to him. So he was called a grabber. And so God told him that that was not his name any longer, because his identity had changed. His personality, God had changed by his love and kindness and goodness and blessings. So now he has a new name. His name is Israel. So now that's what whenever we read Israel, your mind should say, oh, that's Jacob. Okay, so that's what it means. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was a son of his old age. He was born when Jacob was very old. Also, he made him a tunic of many colors. Tunic means a coat which had many colors in it. So it was possibly very rich looking tunic, beautiful too. And you can see that God uses parents too to bless their children, but not at the cost of other children. For God, all children have the same value, right? But human parents are not like that. Human parents are fallible. They are weak. They have a nature that is plagued by the power of sin. So they don't understand that when they are partial to one child over the others, it does not bode well for the family, does not bode well for relationships in the family. Well, Jacob couldn't help himself, because Joseph was his favorite. He made him a tunic of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated Joseph and could not speak peaceably to him. So they were constantly bickering with him. They were constantly riling him. They were constantly, trying to irritate him, get his goat, so to speak. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. Why? What was in the dream? So he said to them, please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field, sheaves of crop, sheaves of grain, all right? Sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf, the sheaf that represented Joseph, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And indeed, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. So his dream was all about a sheaf of wheat or grain which he had bound, and which immediately, when they were all, when all the sheaves were lying on the ground, his sheaf in the dream stands up straight, and the other sheaves turn around and bow down to his sheaf. And when he says that, instantly his brothers say to him, verse 8, shall you indeed reign over us? Are you going to rule over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? Will you be king or something of the sort over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and his words. It was like they were being, they were being told that they were going to play second fiddle to Joseph all the time. Their father had already done that. He loved Joseph more than them. And then now he gets dreams. So apparently they felt that if he's getting dreams, then somebody was speaking to him. Apparently God was speaking to him about something. And according to that dream, they were all going to serve him. They were all going to be subservient to him. They were all going to have to listen to him and obey him. They didn't like that. And so they were even more angry. They hated him all the more. Then Joseph dreamed again. When he dreamed again, this time he dreamed another dream and, and told that to his brothers and said, look, I have dreamed another dream. And this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed down to me. So it's like he was bigger than the sun and the moon and the 11 stars in his dream. He was somebody very, very special. And all these other heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars indicating the 11 brothers who were in his family, they were all bowing down to this person, the celestial body which represented Joseph. Now, when he said this, he told it to his father and his brothers. So the dream, he related it to his father as well. And his father rebuked him, scolded him, and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? Are we going to be so humble that we will be bowing down to the earth before you and making obeisance to you? Are we going to do that? What is wrong with you? Why are you having these dreams? And his brothers envied him because they realized Joseph was not doing anything special to get these dreams. He was just getting them. And all he did was relate these dreams to his brothers and his father. He wasn't manipulating. You can't manipulate a dream. You can't tell a dream, you come. No, it was coming to him. But he was relating it to his brothers and his father as well. So they envied him more, that he was somehow being treated as special, not just by his father, but apparently by God. So, but his father, Israel or Jacob, kept the matter in mind. He bore it in his mind. So, what happened then because of this? Then his brothers, this is in verse 12, then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in a place called Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I'll send you to them. So he said to him, here I am. So Joseph was a very obedient child. So he said, yeah, here I am. I'll do whatever you want me to do, and I'll go wherever you want me to go. Then he said to him, please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me. I just want to check if they're all right. They have been gone a long time, because at that time, if you went out grazing, you won't find, meadows or adequate food or grass or, fodder for your cattle close to the house. You had to go a long way. So they probably were far away, days away from the camp. So Jacob or Israel wanted to know whether they were well, whether the flocks were well, and he wanted Joseph to bring back a report of whatever he saw. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. So Joseph went to Shechem. Now, when they saw him afar off, so as he was approaching his brothers saw him from very far away. Even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. The place which envy took them to. Envy is a result of the evil in people's hearts, the sin in people's hearts, the sin that came to us from our ancestor Adam. So because of that, they envied him so much. All of the events that had happened in Joseph's life, they didn't like it, they envied him. And so now they were conspiring. They had decided, they had planned against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, look, this dreamer is coming. Hey, look at that. Joseph is coming towards us. Come, Therefore, let us now kill him and cast him into a pit. Not just kill him, drop him into some kind of a pit somewhere, and we shall say that some wild beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. So if we kill him, his dreams won't be, won't come true anymore. We are not going to bow down to him anymore. But Reuben was the oldest child of Jacob. Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, so he decided that is not something that is good. That is not something that I want to happen. Want my brother to go through. So he delivered Joseph out of the hands of the rest of his brothers. Because what did he tell them? He told them, let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, but let's cast him into the pit which is in the wilderness. Let's find a pit, a deep, deep pit, which is there in the jungle, and cast him there. And let's not lay our hands on him, and do not lay a hand on him. This he said that he might deliver him out of their hands, that he might save him out of their hands, and bring him back to his father later on. This is what Reuben had planned. He didn't let them know that this was his ultimate plan, because he knew probably that they were not going to support him. They probably were going to take him to task as well for even thinking of saving Joseph. So he said that. So it came to pass, and it happened when Joseph came to his brothers, that they stripped Joseph of his tunic. They took off that colorful tunic that he was wearing, which his father had given him, the tunic of many colors that was on him. Then they took him and cast him into the pit, threw him into that pit, and the pit was empty and there was no water in it. Thankfully, it was empty and there was no water, so he didn't drown. And they sat down to eat a meal. They did something so cruel, they did something so heartless, and they sat down and ate. Then, as they were eating, they lifted their eyes and looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelites, another group of people. They saw a company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, another place, with their camels, bearing spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to Egypt. So, apparently, Reuben was not with them when they actually cast Joseph into the pit and they were eating their meal. Because now another brother pipes up, that is Judah. I think he's the fourth son of Jacob. So Judah said to his brothers, what profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? That we're not going to gain a thing out of killing him or concealing his, his death. We won't get anything out of it. What we'll do something better. We'll do something that we will gain something from it as well. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. We will sell him off to these foreigners, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. So let us not do something which will forever stay with us and create guilt in us. So let's instead sell him off. After all, he's our brother, he's our flesh. We don't want to kill him. And his brothers listened. They agreed with Judah. Then the Midianites traders passed by. So the brothers pulled Joseph up, lifted him out of the pit, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And the Ishmaelites took Joseph to Egypt. Now, after all this happened, Reuben returned to the pit. He returned, and indeed he returned probably after the brothers had left, and he saw that Joseph was not in the pit. And he was so upset that he tore his clothes. So that is one of the way of showing grief in that day and age. And he returned to his brothers and told them, the lad is not there. He is not there. And what shall I do now? I cannot keep my word to myself even that I would save him. What happened to him? So they must have told him, because what happened was they all went together with Joseph's tunic to their father. So they took Joseph's tunic, killed a kid from the goats, took a baby goat. Kid of the goat is baby goat. Killed a kid of the goat, dipped the tunic in the blood. You can see evil is so is so wicked. Not only will evil make you fall down, it will keep you falling further and further down. You are like going to be in the pits. They thought they had put Joseph in the pit, but they had fallen into the pit of deception, into the pit of murder, into the pit of cruelty, to such an extent. Now they had to kill a goat and dip Joseph's tunic in its blood to show that he was dead. And then they sent the tunic of many colors, which was, now stained with blood, and they brought it to their father and said, "We found this. We found this." So apparently they did something very, very wily. They sent it to somebody, through somebody, let it be cast somewhere, and then they acted as though they found wherever it was cast. Then they took the tunic that they said they found, took it to the father, showed it to him, and said, "We found this. Do you know whether it is Joseph's tunic or not? Can you recognize it? We have a feeling it is Joseph's tunic. Can you corroborate that? Can you confirm that?" And he recognized it, and he said, "It is my son's tunic, a wild beast." Now they didn't have to say anything. Joseph took one look at the blood-soaked tunic and said it himself. "A wild beast has devoured him, has killed him, has torn him to pieces." And without doubt, Joseph is torn to pieces. No wonder his tunic is so filled with blood and stained with it. Then Jacob mourned for his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, to make him recover. And he refused to be comforted because he loved Joseph a lot. And he said, "For I shall go down into the grave to my son in mourning." This is not going to end here. I can't stop loving my son. He's too beloved to me. And I will carry this grief all the way to my grave. And thus his father wept for him. A very sad story. Very sad. Now what happened to Joseph? Now the Midianites had sold him in Egypt. So they took Joseph to Egypt and sold him to Potiphar. Potiphar was an officer of the king of Egypt, who was called Pharaoh, and he was also the captain of the guard of the king of Egypt. So this is what we see in chapter 37. Now let's go to chapter 39, because we are following the life of Joseph. Okay, what happens in chapter 39? We are just going to read a small part of it, and then we'll come back to the remaining part of the story tomorrow. Probably we'll come to a small part of it again, and then go to the third part of it and the fourth part of it in the next few days. So in chapter 39, verse 1, now Joseph had been taken to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph. So throughout, it was as though the presence of the Lord suddenly became evident for Joseph. Because when you're alone, you cry out. And when Joseph cried out, the Lord heard him. He possibly cried out when he was in the pit. And that's why the Lord probably turned the heart of his brothers and made sure that they didn't kill him. Instead, they sold him to the Ishmaelites. So he had started crying out to God, and the Lord was with Joseph. And he was a successful man in a foreign country, in another man's house, as another man's slave. He was a very successful man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. Everything that Joseph put his hand to in the house of Potiphar, the Lord made it prosper. So you can see, God started to show his radical giving nature. He started to give to Joseph because Joseph had started to recognize that he was the one person who had saved him. His brother Reuben couldn't save him. His brother Judah tried to save him in one way, ended up selling him out, and even then God was with him, right? So the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all that he did to prosper. So the radical giving had begun. Joseph suddenly realized the only reason he was alive today, he was in Potiphar's house, and he had food and drink every day, was because the Lord was with him. All right. So Joseph found favor in the sight of Potiphar, and he served him. He was an excellent servant, an excellent slave, an excellent employee of Pharaoh, or I mean of Potiphar, the captain of the guard of Pharaoh. Then Potiphar made him an overseer of his house. So he was so good at what he did that Potiphar promoted him to be the head of all the servants in the house. So he was the overseer. So every other servant reported to Joseph. So you can see the kingship of Joseph had started to take form. The dream that he had dreamt when he was younger had started to take form. It was not his brothers who were bowing down to him, but the people who were under him were bowing down to him. And everything that he had, everything that Potiphar had, he put under Joseph's authority. So it was from the time that he made him overseer of his house, from the time that Potiphar made Joseph the overseer of his household, and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. Because he was with Joseph, the Egyptian was being blessed right, left, and center. And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. It was on everything that the Egyptian did, on everything that Joseph did, on everything that his other employees did, on everything that he had in his house and his field. So he probably was suddenly filled with blessings in his house for which he had no room. He kept prospering and prospering and prospering. This was the case of the Egyptian master, that master of Joseph. All right. Thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand. Now he was not just overseer of the rest of the household of the Egyptian. He left every matter into his hand. It was like he made him a manager. From overseer, he had made him a manager. Everything, thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. So all the Egyptian cared about now was what he ate. He didn't have to do a thing. I think as a captain of the guard, everything that he wanted to do as a captain of the guard, he probably assigned that to Joseph as well. He said, "You go do this for me. You don't go do that for. You go do that for me. Go to this contingent and give this order and give that order. What shall I do in this area? Tell me what is happening. What decision should I make?" So it was as though suddenly the Egyptian didn't have anything to do other than sit and eat. So you can see, when the Lord is with you, when you have a relationship with the Lord, it is like as though everything that you do and all who are associated with you are blessed, are blessed, are blessed, are blessed. Because this person who's in relationship with God is listening. Because can you imagine if God has a voice in every decision that you make? What to cook today, or what to teach today, or what to, where shall I go today? What business deal should I, tie up today, complete today, or finish today? What should I do? Where should I go? If I am constantly conscious of God, believing that He is guiding my every step, then how can God go wrong? I'd like to tell you a small testimony here of my own self. I was, let me first check in terms of what is the time. Okay, I have the time. I think I was 24, or yeah, I think I was 24 or 25. And I was planning to go abroad, settle in the USA as a student, begin my life there as a student. And so I had to write a TOEFL exam. Yeah, TOEFL. I'm sure people know what TOEFL is, Test of English as a Foreign Language. I had to do a TOEFL exam. And for that, I had to go to another city. I was living in Mysore at the time, and I had to go to Coimbatore to give that exam. And my father had already paid for the fees, and I was married. I had a baby, And we were all going to head off. My parents, my daughter, my aunt, so it was a family outing. So the rest of them were going to enjoy Coimbatore while I was going to do the TOEFL exam. So we headed out. We left Mysore around 5:30 in the evening, and we hoped to reach Coimbatore by about whatever 8, 9, 10 at the most. And we had to cross a hilly section through our journey around somewhere in the middle of a journey, and I think we hit that section around 8 in the night. So when we were passing through that section, uh, we suddenly came up with a long line of traffic in front of us. So we were, a little puzzled. My father was a little puzzled. So how is there such a long line of vehicles? All of them were parked. They were not even running. So they were parked there. So he decided to step out of the car, go find out, and he came back with a report which really flummoxed all of us. We were all very shocked. We were wondering how are we going to manage this. So he came back with the report saying there is a long line of trucks ahead. After a few cars, there were a long line of trucks which were waiting for a certain time so that they could enter the city of Coimbatore, and they cannot leave that area until that time. So it was like until they moved, none of us who were behind them could move. It was possibly at that time, this was way back, it was I think 1990 or 1918, yeah, between 89 and 90, 1989 and 90. So it must have been a narrow road. There can't have been enough room for us to go around the trucks. So that's the reason we were all stuck. There were many other vehicles that were stuck in front of us and behind us. So we were one of them. So we all decided we have nothing to do. We are going to go to sleep in the car. So here we were trying to sleep in the car, and on my mind was an exam that I had to attend the next morning or the next afternoon. In fact, I think the exam was supposed to begin at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And my mind was on that. And I had a baby to take care of, although my mother was alternating with me to take care of the baby, of my daughter. So we were trying our best to fall asleep, but I couldn't fall asleep. So I was by the time the trucks cleared in the morning and we reached Coimbatore, it must have been about 8 o'clock or something in the morning. And by that time, I had a splitting headache. The headache was so bad that I kept popping pills, but nothing helped. No pill helped me. And my mother gave me pills. My aunt gave me pills where we had gone to stay. They gave me pills. Nothing seemed to help me. I had breakfast. We thought maybe because I was hungry. So I had breakfast. It still didn't work. My head was still splitting. It was as though somebody was taking a hammer and banging my head with it. Well, what happened was, during the day, around about 11:30 or so, my father wanted to know if I really wanted to take the test, considering that I had such a bad headache and it wasn't going no matter what I did. He said, if you're okay, if you want to, you may decide not to give the test. You can decide to, not appear for the test. I didn't want to say no to him instantly because somehow I felt I needed to consult the Lord before I said no. So I said, give me half an hour. I'll be back in half an hour. So I went to the room, shut myself in and prayed to the Lord and opened the Bible and came up with a verse which said, when you're weak, I am strong. I was like, oh, wow, how interesting that I should open my Bible and my eyes should fall on that verse. So I told the Lord, apparently you're telling me to take the test, and that in my weakness, in this inability to even keep my eyes open properly, in my inability to do this, you are still going to be my strength. Okay, I'm going to take your word for it, and I'm going to take the test. And I went out of the room, told my dad that I would take the test, and they all were a little puzzled how I was going to do that. But they said, okay, if you feel up to it, if you feel bold enough to do that, go ahead. So we went to the venue for the test, and my parents were outside, and I was waiting, and I was in the test hall, and I started giving the test. And the first section of TOEFL, those who know TOEFL know, the first section of TOEFL is all about listening. You listen, and then you mark the answer in the answer script. The question is not in the answer script, or rather the situation is not in the answer script. There's only alternatives. Every question, the alternatives of the question are there, are recorded there. So I had to tick the correct correct answer. Well, I started, and by the time I hit the end of the listening section, I came to the last one, last part of last question. By that time, I was totally shocked out of my wits, because I realized that somehow I knew inside me, somehow I knew that I had got every answer right. And the last question was something about cars, and I was looking for it. I heard cars, but the answer said cards, and I realized there was only one option with cards in it, and so that was the correct answer. So I picked it up. I ticked that. And then we went on to the different sections. There's reading and writing and all of that. So we went on to the different sections. And as I was doing it, I suddenly realized that this is like crazily impossible, because somehow from inside I knew that every question was right. Just as the moment that I realized that, it was as though I left my body, went up out of my body, and I was up, and I could see myself, writing the test. That was so crazily shocking. I was so shocked by what I saw. The moment I was shocked, I was back again. And I realized that I was writing. I was not seeing myself. I was actually writing. But then that's when I realized that the Holy Spirit who lives in me was the one who was doing the test. It was not me who was doing the test. And that is the reason he got everything right. On my own, I couldn't have got anything right. I could have got many things wrong. But every answer was right. And I was so happy. I realized as I was doing my test that I no longer had a headache. My headache had vanished. And long story short, I finished the test, went out, met my parents, met my daughter. My daughter was very young. She was just, I think, a year and a half old. And I told my parents, I told my mother, in fact, I went out with such a broad smile on my face. And my mother was shocked to see me. She said, "What's happening? Why are you smiling so much?" I told her, "You believe me, Mom, that when the result comes, you will find that I have got 100% marks. There won't be one wrong answer in my test today, or I would have got 100% marks." And 3 months later, it took 3 months at that time for TOEFL results to come in. So 3 months later, the result came to my home via mail, snail mail, post. Okay, that's how it was done at that time during those years. So when I received the mail, I was so excited. I opened the mail and saw my score there. It was 677 on 677. I had got full marks. I was in the top percentile of marks. I was so thrilled. I ran skipping into the house and told my mother, and I told her, "Look at the marks. I told you I would get this many marks, and that's what it is." So this is to basically tell you, I totally get it. When everything that Joseph did prospered, I can totally understand that. When you are so tuned in to God's voice, and you are so keen on following him, on doing what he says to do, instead of depending on what others are telling, or what your own body is telling you, or what your own circumstances are telling you, instead of doing that, when you do what he tells you to do, it is impossible for you to make a mistake, because he knows the end from the beginning. He knows the answers. He knows, he has all the answers already. You don't even have to debate about it. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you're excited about your walk with God. I am excited about my walk with God and your walk with God. I hope you have a great time doing the same things, listening for Him, doing what He says, and seeing His love for you and seeing Him succeed. You, as you succeed, you will know that it is He who's succeeding through you. So have a great day. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, do all of that. And if you feel led to give to this channel, please feel free to give to it. To give, you have to do a PhonePe to the number 93554-71129. And when you do give, write me a mail to give me your details to stkogchannel2020@gmail.com. And when you do that, I will send you a free ebook as a token of my appreciation. Thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless you. In Jesus' name.